back to MMA Oddsbreaker. This is Before the Bell. We're breaking down UFC Fight. Which fight night is this now? This is like Fight Night 3000?
It seems like it, but it's 106 right now.
I can't keep it together, man. It's like, and there's so many fights now that, last weekend we had 209. Now we got Fight Night 106. How are we going to keep these numbers together? I don't know. But we're talking about Belfort and Gastelum and Hua and Vellante. Obviously the co-main with Mauricio Shogun Hua and Guillermo Vellante. Hua's 6th ranked. Vellante's 12th ranked. But they're almost like one win away or 2 wins away from being in the title hunt. Either one of these guys, obviously a big deal if Vellante wins, beating a guy like Hua down in Brazil. But I worry about Hua's chin, his age, the amount of fights that he's had, the length of his fight career. What's the line on it, and what's it look like for this fight?
Well, betting standpoint, it is kind of tricky as well, but it's competitive. Right now, it's Shogun Hua minus 140. The comeback on Vellante is plus 120 at 5 dimes. So, and the lineup actually opened a little bit higher for Shogun, but the early action coming in was on Vellante. So people do have a little bit more faith early on in Vellante than they do Shogun, even though the fight's in Brazil, even though Shogun has more experience. And not necessarily either one of these guys are going to get a title shot, even with this win, obviously. I mean, because it's a cluster right now. A lot of the weight divisions right now in the UFC are kind of a mess with, things happening, belts not getting defended very soon, very often, I should say. So it's a mess. Obviously, I mean, the winner of this fight definitely takes a huge step forward because, like you just mentioned, they're both top 15 guys. But still, I think a long way to go before they get an actual title shot. But that being said, it is a competitive fight because Vellante has a tremendous amount of knockout power. That's why the respect and the bets are coming in his way. And like you just mentioned, Shogun's getting to that point of his career where we're not sure how much longer he's actually going to be competing. He's been in so many wars throughout his career, and most of them have been fantastic. So he's one of the all-time greats in the sport, really. I mean, the legendary performances that he's had. And he still does have something left in the tank, though. I'm not completely writing him off because, man, even in his last fight against Anderson, I mean, he still has the will to win. You know what you can get from him, meaning that he's going to be there in round 3. If he's capable, if he's upright and not knocked out, flat on his back, he's going to have the heart and the determination to win that fight. So he's going to be there, trying to win that fight until the end. And for Vellante, I'm not sure if I can say that. I mean, that's where it comes into the tough difficulty here goes, because if Vellante doesn't get rid of Shogun early, I think Shogun's probably going to get rid of him. And so it's one of those situations that we'll see what happens.
So if Vellante's going to win, you say get rid of him early. How do you think he's going to pull it off?
Probably by knockout. I mean, Shogun isn't the easiest guy to knock out, but Vellante does have that power. Shogun obviously has been, getting clipped lately. His nose has been busted up several times as well. He doesn't have that granite chin that we're used to, but he does have that warrior spirit, so it's not going to be easy to get him out of there. But Vellante definitely has that difference-making power that, he catches him, he's probably going to knock him out. I mean, clean, you know what I mean? They could definitely knock each other out in this matchup, so it should be fun.
In your opinion, then, where does the money go? If I got to lay a bet down on this fight, where am I going to put my money?
Well, if the line keeps on dropping, I think there's probably Shogun will probably have some value. I mean, like I said, if you look at it across the board, he is the much better fighter. I mean, the youth advantage goes towards Vellante, of course. But other than that, I mean, like I said, both of these guys have a puncher's chance. Technically speaking, Shogun is the better fighter. I think he's got the better cardio. I think he's got the better heart, and it's in Brazil. So if the line keeps on dropping right now where it's at, I don't know. I still hesitate to lay 140 on Shogun at this stage of his career. But the way the action is trending a little bit, maybe it drops down to a little bit closer to a pick'em, and then I go Shogun here. If the line gets back up to Shogun, like maybe 2-1, then again, you're playing the line, and Vellante is going to be worth a bet. So you got to kind of monitor the line where it's at right now, and that's where you go. So at the current line at minus 140 plus 120, I say it's almost a pass. But again, if it moves a little bit in either direction, then there might be some value that opens up.
Okay, let's move on to the main event. Vitor Belfort, Kevin Gastelum. Kevin Gastelum said, I'm a 170-pounder, but he's undefeated at 185, right? Like he's on a tear, and then just beat up Tim Kennedy in December. So now we're talking about Tim, who's one of my good friends, an amazing warrior, a war hero, an incredible athlete, and he made him look ridiculous. So Kevin obviously is better at 185, and then Vitor Belfort, what's he have left in the tank? He's already talking about we need to have a Legends UFC tour. All the old guys get to come back in and fight again. When you start talking about that, when you're competing as a main event in a fight, and you're talking about, okay, hey, let's have a Legends tour, you're already looking for a way out. You're already looking to check yourself out, but it's Vitor Belfort. You can't really knock him down. Then you look at the rankings, according to UFC.com, Vitor 9, Kevin 10. Obviously, this fight's going to be very, very evenly matched if you look at it on paper. but I got to think Kevin has to be a heavy favorite right now.
He is actually. It's minus 425 for Gaslam, and the comeback on Belfort, that's at plus 340 right now. And by the way, just a quick, got to throw this one out there because it was just too easy to do. But there's already a legend circuit out there. It's called Bellator. Like, a lot of those guys, obviously, with all the fights they put on like that. No, not knocking Bellator. I think they are doing some good things, but I mean, it just seems like they're kind of going that route a little bit more so than the UFC. But that being said, with this matchup, yeah, it's Gaslam. He's a decent favorite. I opened it closer to 3-1. It got bet up to 4-1 against Vitor Belfort. Now, if this was obviously back in the day, a couple years back, or in Belfort's prime when he was, earning that title shot or whatnot, it wouldn't be this high. So there's a lot of question marks, but the point is Gaslam's been fighting relatively well. You know what I mean? Even though the weight cut issues that he had at 170 moving up to 185, that was a great win against Tim Kennedy. It really was. And not just that, but even in his performances at 170, they really haven't been that bad either. So he's been kind of coming into his own. I mean, he's getting better as, his career progresses regardless of weight class. And I think 185, he's proven that he can compete with those guys. So I think that he is the rightful favorite in this matchup. And I mean, unless Vitor goes out there and just, again, lands something heavy right away, he's probably going to end up losing this fight. Gaslam will probably get the takedown, take him down, and kind of grind him out a little bit that way, or if maybe possibly finish him as it goes. So I think that's what's more than likely going to happen, and that's why people are betting Gaslam as well.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though, but at that line, the way the line is set up is it's like you got to take Vitor or pass, but you're shaky on Vitor, it sounds like. So you're going to leave this one alone?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost at plus 340. I mean, with, again, Vitor's naturally the bigger guy and all that stuff. It is tempting, man. It really is. And if Vitor goes out there and starches him, I'm going to kind of regret not taking him. But honestly, right now, I just think the writing's on the wall, and I think that Gaslam shouldn't really lose this matchup. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, if it gets more ridiculous, if it gets 5 to 6 to 1, then maybe a small play, could be justified on Belfort because maybe we're all disrespecting him a little bit too much. Because let's face it, I mean, the guy's still going to be dangerous early on for sure.
He's definitely got 3 or 4 super explosive kicks or punches in each round where you're not going to know where they're coming from. They're in a lightning speed fast. You won't see it where it's going to hit you. It's too late. Like those kind of things can knock a guy out. The problem is with Kevin Gaslam is that he's always pushing forward. He's always in your space. So as a result, whenever Vitor tries to do a spinning back kick or anything like that, he's gonna absorb part of it, but most of it's gonna miss because he's gonna be stepping into it as it comes through and won't land flush. It's gonna land off the side or off the corner as he comes in. Man, this fight is tough, and at that line, man, I can't touch it. Like I don't want to have anything to do with it just because it's such a big disparity. And right now, Kevin looks better. He looks better everywhere we go. Every time we look at him fight, he gets better every single time. So you kind of have to lean on him. But man, Vitor in Brazil. It's tough to count him out. I don't care if he comes in with a broken arm or broken leg. Like he's always seems to find a way to win when it's down in Brazil.
I agree. That's the other factor you got to throw in there that you mentioned. You're absolutely right. I mean, he's got that Brazilian motivation. The country. I mean, he's a huge star. We don't even have to get into that. You know how big he's a megastar over there. I mean, he's one of the most respected fighters they've ever had. So the crowd is going to be behind him. Obviously, I think that's extra motivation. I mean, there's a lot of pressure fighting in your home country, in your home state, wherever the case may be. But I think some of these guys, and especially like Vitor, they kind of absorb all that energy and kind of make it useful for them. You know what I mean? They actually brings out the better performance out of him. So if that's the case again, yeah, I mean, we could see, Vitor kind of come to life and do something, pull off something great. And I wouldn't obviously be against it, to be honest with you. I mean, whether I'm on it or not, I always love a good dog to come through. I mean, the storyline in itself would be pretty cool, I think. So, yeah, I mean, part of me, because of the parlay buster fact and everything else, will be pulling for Vitor Belfort to pull off the upset win.
Well, those are our picks for this week on UFC Fight Night 106. Great fight. This card snuck up on us. Everyone was so busy paying attention to 209, UFC 209, they didn't pay attention to Fight Night 106 coming in. Great card, top to bottom. Let's not forget that Josh Berkman is on there. Berta Correa is on there. Bernard Delrouche is in there. Like, there's a great card, and it's Fox Sports 1 card. So it's free. You get the early prelims on Fight Pass. I think there's 2 or 3 fights, if I remember correctly. And then everything goes on to Fox Sports 1 prelims and then jumps straight into Fox Sports main card. And for a free TV card, I got to think, this is just me putting it out there, I got to think that they're going to change their format of how they're going to run, of how they're doing the television style for the UFC going forward. I kind of get the sense they're going back to going to follow the free TV kind of format a lot more. Big Fox and Fox Sports 1, a lot less pay-per-views, because it just makes more sense. A lot more people, the eyeballs now getting on Fox Sports 1 is really helping out, one, Fox Sports 1, but it's also helping out the brand of the UFC as they go forward. And a guy like Kelvin Gastelum being seen on Fox Sports 1 on main event by all those eyeballs, way more than we'll see him on pay-per-view, it's going to be huge for him. And for a guy like that, who's got a story of like, yeah, I'm really 170-pounder, but I'm cracking all these 185-pounders, all of a sudden becomes a storyline. Vitor Belfort wins, I'm 150 years old, I just kicked this young kid's ass. Like, now that's a new storyline, and that's a lot more people seeing it at one time. I love this card. I love it top to bottom. I just really feel like it has not gotten the push that people should have been giving it for the amount of talent that's actually on the card.
You're absolutely correct. And you know what? They keep on filling out that UFC 211 card as well. That's what everybody's talking about recently, so that's even kind of getting more attention than this card as well. Everybody's like, man, what a stacked card 211 is. Texas is lucky, all that stuff going on. And this is just, like you said, this is flying under the radar. And there's going to be some quality fights. I mean, like you said, Dariush versus Barboza, that's a quality fight. Formiga versus Borg, that's a quality fight. I mean, just from top to bottom, there's several. The Means versus Oliveira matchup, the rematch of the controversial fight that they just had. I mean, that's fantastic too. So this is a very underrated card. There's going to be some great finishes from top to bottom. I mean, and in Brazil, it seems like I love watching cards, honestly, out of there. It's just the atmosphere, everything, the vibe that you get, it's just fantastic. And usually there's a lot of great finishes. So I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
I got to remember, if I'm correct, you might not even know, but the Brazilians have an unfair advantage. Brazilians tend to win more in Brazil than they do when they're outside the country. So it's like if you're fighting a Brazilian and you're an American or actually from any other country than Brazil, but you're fighting a Brazilian, the cards are stacked against you. Not because the judges are going to screw you, but because the Brazilians just tend to win more often in Brazil, which makes another factor pretty good for the main event and co-main event. We're looking at two Brazilians older, falling off a little bit, but in Brazil.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yep, I agree completely. I mean, that's the motivation standpoint. You're right. More times than not, it goes that way. More people tend to win. Brazilians win a lot in Brazil. Now that trend gets upset once in a while. You know what I mean? There's always a wrench that gets thrown in that. But yeah, typically speaking, it seems to be Brazilians win a lot more on Brazilian cards for sure.
That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.